Hello everyone, welcome to week 7 of our PMGT1865 course where we look onto the project cost estimation overview and some techniques in project management. This week topic is a core part of project management, I would say, because no matter how good your project idea is, if the costs are not estimated correctly, guess what? The project is looking at the risk of running out of budget, which is not good for your project, and you become financially unviable to complete the project. So throughout today's session, we are going to look at different cost estimation technique, the overview basically, look at the cost estimation and some of the techniques used, and the process of developing a cost estimation or cost management plan. And we will also look onto how cost estimation ties in project control in a broader sense. I'll be taking you through the theoretical aspect as well as some practical applications of cost estimation in projects. But by the end of the session, you should be able to understand different types of cost estimation technique, how to prepare a project cost estimate, and how these estimate feed into your budgeting and financial control of the project. Okay. Learning outcomes. So we have the key learning outcomes for today's session. By the end of this class, you should be able to achieve three things. First one is understand different types of cost estimation technique. We'll look at the methods such as analogous, parametric, and three-point estimate. Each method has its own strength and limitation, and I'll show you when and why we should be using one over other. Understand project estimation or budget and control aspect. It's not enough to simply produce an estimate. We also need to turn that into a budget and then manage it. So we'll explore how cost estimation links to budget determination and how costs are tracked and controlled throughout the project lifecycle. And last is we'll develop a cost management plan. This is where everything comes together. You will learn how to document the policies, procedures, and guidelines for managing cost. We'll also touch on cost baseline, funding requirements, and the importance of aligning cost planning with schedule and project planning. As we go through the lecture, keep asking one yourself, how do these techniques and plans ensure that your project stays within its approved budget boundaries? So that mindset will help you connect the theory with practice. You're looking at the schedule of the PMGT 1865 course. Week 1, we introduced project planning in different contexts. We gone through project scoping. Week 2, we did work breakdown structure and we calculated the critical path. And week 3, we did different types of overlapping network diagram. Week 4, we gone through PERT, the program evaluation and review technique. And week 5, we did the resource planning. And in week 6, we completed the quiz, as you all know. And today, obviously, the project cost estimation. Okay, now let's see what's project cost management is about. At its core, project cost management is about making sure the project can be delivered within approved budget. That involves estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling project costs throughout the project lifecycle. The main objectives are achieving project objectives within cost parameters. That's your main objective. We align project costs with the business case. If costs go unchecked, even a technical successful project can be deemed a failure because it exceeds financial limits. Defining the project budget in line with the schedule and resource plan. So cost, time, and resource are interconnected. If you change one, it affects the others. So for example, shortening the schedule may increase the cost due to overtime or more resource required to complete that activity. So you need to plan for that. Managing changes to the budget as well. So budgets are static. They are not actually static. Some the scope changes now and then. There is risk. There's delays that which all drive the changes. So the cost management must ensure budgets are consistently aligned with scope, schedule, and resource. So what are the things you need to do is reviewing financial viability when estimating change. So if costs rise significantly, the organization may consider or reconsider whether the project is still worth doing, and cost management should provide the data for those decisions. So in short, project cost management is not just about numbers, it's about maintaining the financial integrity of the project while delivering the intended outcomes. So usually in project cost management, we have four key components. So these gives us a structured way of thinking about how costs are handled throughout the project. So the first one is the project plan, cost management, which is nothing but how the cost will be estimated, budgeted, and managed. This is during your planning stage. The second one is estimate cost. This is where it all begins. We forecast the monetary resources needed to complete the project activities. That include your labor, materials, equipment, and services, all the resources that need required to complete those project activities. The accuracy of these estimates depends on the method used and the amount of information available at the project or the time. The third one is about the determining budget. Once we have the estimate, we aggregate them into a project budget. That's called project budget. This step also incorporates contingency reserves and management reserves. The result is a cost baseline. So essentially, the approved version of the budget against which the performance is measured. The third one is about cost management plan using the PMBOK process. PMBOK emphasizes a structured approach, which is again your planning, estimation, determining, and then controlling costs. This ensures that cost management is integrated with other knowledges area like schedule and scope management. And the final one is your cost control. This part implicit, but it's very important. After the budget is set, costs must be tracked, monitored, and controlled. This involves various techniques like variance analysis, forecasting, and taking corrective action when actual costs deviate from the plan. Together, these components ensure we are not only setting a realistic budget but also actively managing it throughout the project. So remember, a cost estimate without control is just a number. It is the ongoing management of delivery success. Okay, now let's see what cost sub plans are. Within cost planning, we often break things down into what we call sub plans, each with a specific focus. The first one we talk about is project cost estimate. This is nothing but the overall budget, the total cost of the project. It captures all planned expenses. The second point is the time phased budget. We'll focus more on time phased budget. This comes from work breakdown structure and the schedule. It spreads the cost across the project timeline so we can manage expenses over time rather than just looking at the total. The third and most important part is your cash flow. As like in finance, this shows when money needs to be available. Even if the project has a large budget, its funds aren't accessible at right time, activities could stall. So cash flow ensures financial resources are synchronized with project activities. These subplans are interlinked together. They provide a complete financial picture of the project. So let's see what the project estimate is. The project cost estimate is the total estimate cost of the project. We usually start by breaking the work breakdown structure into cost breakdown structure. So we identify each activity, we identify what are the resources required and what are the costs involved in doing that or procuring that. This lets us assign costs to specific work packages, making the estimate more detailed and traceable. So what are the key elements? The key elements include direct cost. So these are the costs directly tied to doing the work such as labors, materials and other services required to complete the task or activity. There are indirect costs as well, which can be also referred to overheads. So these are costs not tied to one project specifically, like rent, utilities or software licenses. Sometimes they are bundled into labor rates as well. And the third one is the contingency. This is the money set aside for any risk or unforeseen events happen. It's not for a new scope, but for unplanned issues such as tasks taking longer than expected. So project contingency are for known risks, which we call it known knowns, whereas management reserves for truly unforeseen risk, unknown unknowns. So the estimate is both a financial forecast and a risk management tool because it helps us prepare for uncertainty. So let's look at what cost estimation is. Estimating cost is the process of forecasting how much money will be needed to complete the project activities. A good estimate covers all the resources required, such as your labor, your material, your equipment, your facilities, and services. While we often express estimates in dollar amount, sometimes we use other units like person hours, like if you're doing for contracting people. So you use person hours to compare work across different currencies or context. A few important points to remember here is estimates involve alternatives and trade-offs. For example, if you're hiring more skilled laborers may cost more but finish work faster, so saving money overall. So the accuracy of estimates improve over time. At the start, when information is limited, estimates are less precise. As the project progresses and we know more, we refine and improve them. Cost estimates are a living documents. They need to be updated and reviewed regularly as conditions change. So think of estimation as a progressive elaboration. The more we know, the more accurate we can get. So here's an example of the process of project cost estimation. So how you see each activities are estimated and then allocating that cost to the time phase in which the activity will occur. So if you have an activity that runs over 3 months, you spread its cost proportionally across those 3 months. So for goods like materials or equipment, your typical record of cost in the month or period when you expect to receive them, since that's when you'll be invoiced. After you allocated all your activities cost to the relevant time phases, you sum it up and each time phases to get your monthly or weekly spend. Then calculate the cumulative cost curve. So this is important because it allows us to see how the project expenditure grows over time, which we can compare to our funding and budget availability. So what is indirect cost? So the like a direct cost, there are the indirect costs are trickier to estimate because they don't link directly to one project activity. So these are often overheads like utilities, office rent, or any software license you are using, or the cost of shared services such as HR or procurement. So these are a few common approaches. The first one is about the arbitrary amount. For example, setting aside $10,000. This is simply but not very precise. And there is another one called arbitrary percentage. So usually you give a percentage of the total project budget. Again, it's a rough approach, but often used in practice. And the third one is about factored in labor rates. Some organization already includes overheads in their internal labor rates. In this case, the indirect costs are effectively counted as direct cost. A key point to note here is indirect costs are usually excluded from the cost baseline but included in the overall project budget. This means they do not form part of performance measure baseline, but it will still need to be funded. Okay, now let's look at estimating contingency. So contingency estimation is all about preparing for uncertainty. Ways to estimate contingency include a few points like arbitrary percentage or amount. It's simple but not very scientific. Based on project types. So for example, if IT project might allocate 10% contingency, while construction may allow more due to higher risks. And some contingencies are based on risks. This is more robust method. So we assess risk either qualitatively or quantitatively and set aside funds accordingly. And there is another way looking at contingency is about adjusted over time. Contingency is not just fixed amount. As the project progresses, some risks materialize and others disappear. So contingency should be updated based on the current risk profile. So you got to remember one thing, contingency is not for few new scope. It is there to protect against any known or unknown risk that will affect existing scope. What you're seeing now is the cost breakdown structure. It's how project cost estimate can be broken down. So as we said before, direct costs, which is your project budget, these are the planned costs for delivering the work, including your salaries, your labor cost, your materials and contractors, etc. So it also have project contingency. As you know, it's funds for known risk. And they will also look onto cost baseline, or what's technically it's called as budget at completion. So this is the sum of all the direct cost and project contingency which are phased over time. We also talk about control accounts or work packages. These provides more granular estimates and allow cost tracking at different levels. And the final one is about management reserves and indirect cost overhead, which are management reserves funds for unknown unknowns held by the senior management of an organization, not basically a part of the baseline. The indirect costs or overheads or shared expenses such as marketing, research and development, or amortized cost. So we also go through profit in contracting projects. This is the margin added to ensure the bid is financially viable. So usually you had 10 to 20% of your profit. And then the bid price is as well. This is the final amount quoted to the client, which includes all the above. This is structure helps ensure nothing is left out. It's the peeling back layers from high level bid price down to individual activity cost estimates. So let's look at what the accuracy of project cost estimate is. Not all estimates are created equal. Their accuracy depends on how much information we have and when in the project life cycle we make them. We use different types of project estimates. So the first one we call is rough order of magnitude, which is accuracy will be ranging from minus 25% to plus 75%. This is usually done at a very early stage when details are limited. So useful for feasibility studies or initial business cases. So the second point is preliminary or analogous estimate. It ranges from minus 15 to plus 50%. This is leverage data from similar past project. Have you remember in the last class we talked about analogous and parametric? So analogous is about looking at the historic or past project data. And the third point is budgetary estimate. It's more detailed with accuracy around minus 10 to 25%. This helps secure project approval and funding. And the other one is finite definitive estimate, the most reliable ranging, which is from minus 5 to 10%. This is prepared once scope, schedule, and resources are well defined. We have the final estimate. So these prepared at the point of contract execution, leaving very little on uncertainty. So what is the key takeaway? The key takeaway is to estimates evolve. Early estimates guide decisions, but as the project mature, accuracy also improves. So what is determining budget? Once costs are estimated, the next step is to determine the budget. This involves aggregating all activities or work package estimate into a single authorized cost baseline. So what are the inputs? The inputs include your cost estimate, your basis for estimate, the project schedule, the risk register, or any contractual agreement which has been considered for the activities. So the process is formally part of planning process group in according to PMBOK, but the output is nothing but the cost baseline, which is your approved time-phased budget, the funding requirements, which specify how much money is needed and when, and the overall project budget, which is the cost baseline plus your management reserve. This step ensures that project has a approved financial framework and that funding aligns with your organizational capability. So to put the budget into practice, we use several techniques. So the first one is cost aggregation. If your purpose is to build a total project cost from bottom up, this summing up of activities to work package to control accounts or deliverables is called cost aggregation. The second one is contingency reserve allocation, which is used to handle cost estimate of identified risks. Another technique is called management reserve planning, which we already seen, which is nothing but budget sets aside for unforeseen risk. And then the fourth point is time-phased budgeting, which is to manage your cash flow and align with any financial periods. The last one is about funding limit reconciliation. This checks whether the project cash flow fit within the sponsor financial capacity. Even if the total budget is approved, the sponsor may not be able to release funds in certain amounts or at specific time. So what does it all gives it? These are all forms the part of cost baseline. This is created by aggregating all activities cost and adding contingency resource. It is a time phase to show when money will be spent. So, and then you get the total project budget. This equals the cost baseline plus management reserves. It represents the maximum fund that may be required. The message here is that budgeting is not just about how much, it also about when. So we need to align funding budget with both the project needs and the sponsor's financial reality. Okay, now look at how to develop time-phased budget. A time-phased budget is nothing but an essentially a budget broken down by time periods. It represents the planned spend profile for your project. Here's the step-by-step approach. Okay, let's start with your work breakdown structure, and all your activities are there, and then you should do your cost estimation for those activities. Place each cost in the time period where the work is scheduled to happen and when the payment is about to be due. So sum of cost of each time period. So you have a total planned spend per month or per quarter or per week, however you want to break it down. This approach gives you a realistic cash flow requirement. So it's not just about knowing what the project will cost, but also when the cost will be incurred. So the main purpose of a time-phased budget is to help you stay cash positive. Think of it this way. You always want to ensure that you have enough funds available when payments are due. By planning costs by time period, you avoid situation where work is done, invoices arrive, but there's no money to pay them. So it's a financial control tool that links schedule cost, cash availability. So this also helps in performance measurement because you can compare your planned value against your actual cost at a given point in time, which is very useful in your earned value management, which is on your week 9. So we'll go through week 9 to detailedly go through your planned value, schedule variance, and the cost variance in that. So once you have time-phased budget completed, the next step is to prepare a cash flow analysis. Cash flow analysis is nothing but when you need the cash at what time and what amount. Cash flow analysis in project management is the evaluation of the cash inflows and outflows over the project life cycle to assess its financial health, liquidity, and profitability. It involves tracking money coming in from different sources like your client payments and money going out for expenses such as material, labors, and financing to ensure that the project has enough cash to meet its financial obligation and achieve its objectives. This analysis is crucial for accurate budgeting, forecasting, and making informed decision about the potential projects. So here is how you do it. Allocate the estimated cost of activities to the period when the funds will actually leave your account. Sometimes this is slightly later than the activity completion date, depending on payment terms. Some of the outgoing funds for each period. Add up cumulative totals over time to build a cumulative cost curve. So then incorporate your incoming funds, which is should reflect your funding arrangements or client payment milestone. This step is very crucial for ensuring that the project has enough liquidity at every stage, avoiding funding gaps that can delay your project progress. Finally, let's see the concept of cash flow in a project context. Cash flow is simply the movement of money in and out of project account over time. So you see when for defining the scope or getting approvals, when do you need your cost? Is it required on the day one or day two or day four? So you need to have that over the time cost. A positive cash flow means you have more money coming in than going out. A good sign for a healthy project. A negative cash flow means you are spending more than what is available, which could lead to financial issues. A well prepared time based budget and cost analysis will help you three things. One, anticipate funding needs, negotiate better with sponsor or clients, and to keep your project financially healthy. That's pretty much it for the day, guys. I think you now understood what the project cost estimation techniques are, how it can be done, how you can develop your cost estimation plan. And I would like to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please, as you know, email me or email Dr. Jin for any further clarification. And if you don't have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the class. Thank you.